verse 11, Jesus is speaking. I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd lays down his life for the sheep. The gospel of the Lord. Please be seated. To come down. Okay, I have a question. Who remembers what happened in Turkey in 2005? Come on, quick. 2005, Turkey. It's like it was just yesterday. Anything? What are your guesses? What? Some kind of natural disaster is their guess. Okay, 2005 in Turkey, 400 sheep died. 400 sheep died because they ran amok. They literally ran off a cliff, 400 of them. They dropped a 15-meter drop, and the first 400 that fell were killed. Now, here's the thing. 1,100 more followed them. But those 1,100 survived, some better than others, because they landed on the 400 that fell first. In total, that makes 1,500 sheep, 2005, and it cost those who owned those sheep roughly 42,000 pounds. So if you figure that out monetarily, it was a significant financial loss. Why? Why did 1,500 sheep run off a cliff? Because that's what sheep without a shepherd are prone to do. They are prone to run amok, which is such a great word. Doesn't it make you just want to go amok, 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 amok? Such an awesome word. Might even bring a movie or two to mind. In the Old Testament, in Ezekiel, in Jeremiah, throughout the Old Testament, God talks in terms of his people needing shepherds. They need shepherds because without them, they run amok. They are prone to stray. Now, sheep are really cool creatures. These guys know, my family knows, the congregation knows. I'm on a real sheep bent this last little while, partly because my family took me to see the Sheep Detectives on Mother's Day. So I know it's not everyone's cup of tea, but if you have phenomenal good taste and you've seen the movie, put your hand up. It is amazing. Brent and I are going to high five over there. There we go. It is amazing. Hollywood has no idea all of the intense Christian, powerful messages that popped off of that screen. If they knew, they would never have let them come through. It is about sheep whose shepherd is killed, and the sheep have to solve the mystery. And here's some things we learn about, first of all, the shepherd. The shepherd is asked, are any of your sheep special? So when I look at you guys here in the front pew, if someone asked me, are any of these guys special to you? What do you think my answer would be? They're all special in their own way. Good job, right? Actually, that's exactly what the shepherd says in the movie. My sheep are each unique, and I know them and I call them by name. You are not alike. Look at the stoles that you have made. Each of them speaks to the different gifts and passions and abilities that God has blessed you with. Gifts and passions and abilities that God has purpose and plan for. First, for the family of faith to be active and busy building up this family, just as, if you take a look over your shoulder and throughout the congregation, just as these youth who have gone before you are actively doing. And then they could look at the next generation and the next generation. And if you're a millennial out there, pull up your socks, people. Get in the game. Millennials are missing to a great degree. We are called to be a body, a flock. So that's the next thing we know about sheep, is that they like to hang together. There's a really good reason sheep hang together. Where are their eyes? Where are sheep's eyes? On the side of their head. What do we know automatically if an animal's eyes are on the side of their head? They're a prey animal. So one of the reasons sheep hang together is because there's hunters out there with their eyes in front of their face that are looking to devour them. The scriptures speak at length about the wolves that are looking to devour the sheep of God's flock. And so sheep like to hang together. It's safer. Jesus was speaking here to an agrarian society about sheep and shepherds, and they understood. But here's the thing. We still are those sheep. 2,000 years later, we are each a lamb of his choosing, a sheep of his redeeming. And we are called to be the church together, to show up, to love and serve our neighbor, both close to home and far afield, to love the unlovable, to care for those the world would much rather kick to the curb. We are his sheep, and so we hang together, and we have a shepherd. Now, a few other things about sheep. Did you know that when a lamb strays from the flock and realizes they're alone, they get super loud? They get super loud in part so the shepherd can find them. But if you're super loud out there all by yourself, you draw the attention of the enemy as well. And so the shepherd must make haste to collect up his sheep. Sheep, for the most part, are fluffy and calm and peaceful and quiet characters. Sheep have a very special gift. Does anyone know what it is? They know the voice of their shepherd. They recognize the voice of their shepherd. There is a woman, her name is Judith Fain. She wrote a wonderful book called At the Feet of Rabbi Jesus. She was following and documenting and watching the Bedouin shepherds in the Holy Land just a few years ago. And she was fascinated that at the end of the day, to keep sheep safe at night in the darkness where the light is not shining and a lot of bad stuff can happen. Now, hold that in mind the next time your parent says, nothing good's going to happen after midnight, so you can just be home by midnight. Yeah, that's why. Lots of bad stuff can happen in the darkness. She watched the shepherds bring all of their different flocks to a community corral, basically, with gates. And you would bring the sheep in, and they would mingle. Sheep are very social animals. They don't just hang out with their best bud. They go and they mingle. They mingle with other sheep. So then in the morning, she wondered, how are these shepherds going to collect up all their sheep when they're all mixed up together in a big group? And the shepherds who had slept at the gate to protect lays down and becomes the gate. Jesus not only says, I am the shepherd, but he says, I am the gate for the sheep, the way to the Father, the way home. The shepherds would get up in the morning, and each of them would call their sheep. They would make their own noise, or they would even call them by name, because shepherds love to name their sheep. And they would call them, and this huge mix of sheep would all recognize their shepherd's voice and follow where he leads. Think about that. Sheep do not have a lot of real smart qualities, but they know the voice of their shepherd, and they follow. And Jesus says, my sheep hear my voice, and they follow me, and I know them. At the end of the day, it is about being known by the Good Shepherd. What do shepherds do for their sheep? Well, I made a bit of a list. The shepherd leads the sheep, tends the sheep, feeds the sheep, waters the sheep, heals the sheep, protects the sheep, intercedes between the sheep and danger, blesses their sheep, comforts their sheep. The shepherd dies for their sheep. And then Jesus, the Good Shepherd, who died for the sheep, for you, for sinners, rises. Why? Because his sheep still need a shepherd. Because without a shepherd, sheep run amok and get into all sorts of trouble. I was thinking about the Pharisees who are listening when Jesus is speaking here. It's right after he has healed the blind man, and he has had the nerve, the courage, the authority to tell these religious leaders that they are blind. These devout leaders are lost and without a shepherd. And they are leading the sheep God has entrusted to them astray. And they are angry because Jesus is hanging out with who? The lame and the blind and the prostitutes and the beggars and the drunks. He's hanging out with sinners. So the very devout are lost, and the very wayward are lost. That means all of us are lost without the shepherd who lays down his life for the sheep. And his promise, a promise is a promise. A promise brings hope. A promise brings life. His promise is, I have called you by name. Look at my nose. I have called you by name. Next row. I have called you by name. I have called you by name, says Jesus to you. I am your good shepherd. I laid down my life and took it up again so that you will never be without the shepherd who loves you, who forgives you, and who leads you now and home. You guys picked a really good verse. Well done. I want to show you something. After church, I have a gift for each of you. In your bag, there's an assortment of things. One of the things that you're going to find, thank you, Dax, for this inspiration, is a pair of mismatched black and white sheep socks. And when you put them together, they connect. So before you leave the building today, Liam and Maddie are getting some too. And I have a pair, and we're going to all put them on, and we're going to connect, and we're going to take a picture. Isn't that cool? Now, I know some of you are going, I will never wear mismatched socks, Maggie. What are you thinking? So after our wonderful picture, you are free to trade if there are like weird, crazy people in the group that need to have 2 black or 2 white socks. All good. But until the picture, there we are. Jesus died for all. Thanks be to God.